All right, it is Winda Wednesday again, and today I have actual cardboard in front of me instead of just a Dueling Book screen. So, shout out to that. It is my long-awaited, I think it's been like 3 weeks now that I've been promising you guys this, my Shaddoll deck profile. Dogmatic Invoked to be specific. It's just the best version to play this format. I also have my locals report. My locals was last week, but I wanted to save this for Wednesday, so that's when you're getting it. This will be the deck profile, things I want to change, and locals report. Okay. So let's start it off. Oh, full construct. Okay. Main deck. We have 3 copies of Alistair the Invoker. Can't run any more, and you don't want to run any less. Yes, they are Italian. For the Dogmaticas, we have 1 Ecclesia, 1 Fleur. I really want to play a second Ecclesia, and I'll get into why later. I'm also considering Maximus, but that warrants further testing. For the Shaddolls, we have 2 copies of Wendy, 1 Beast, 1 Dragon, 1 Hedgehog, and 1 Ariel. That is it for all the non-hand trap monsters. No real issue on the Shaddoll lineup. The 2 Wendy was fine, although I am thinking about cutting her down to 1. I do not know what I want to replace her with. I'm honestly considering Falco, just for the floatability and recurability he gives you. I also want to put a Shaddoll Resh Incarnation in this build because I'm currently not playing it. And there was also a couple times when I found myself wanting more than 1 Ariel. But honestly, this card's the MVP of the entire deck. Just DD-Co for 3 just hurts everybody so much. So that's it for the Shaddoll, Dogmatic, and Invoked monsters. For the hand traps, we have 2 copies of Thanos Dragon, 3 copies of Ash Blossom, and then rounding out the hand trap lineup, we have 3 Giant Rocks. Phantasme was great. Anytime it resolved, it was just amazing, especially because a lot of people forget about his on-field ability. If your opponent targets something, you can discard a card and he negates and destroys, which is amazing. So that came up quite a few times. Honestly, I would consider playing 3 Phantasme, but the deck space in this deck is just so tight since I'm keeping it straight 40. And then 3 Ash, it's Ash. And then Nib in the main comes up way more often than you would think. The only matchup I'd have to say it didn't come up in, or doesn't really come up in, is Striker and other control mirrors. But game 1 against Striker is really easy, since they want to go second, and they had most of their stuff that hurts you's in the side. I've won every game 1 against Striker this format with this deck, so it's not a problem. Then you can just side this out, or at worst, it's just construct fodder. I didn't really feel like playing any more hand traps than this. I felt that this was fine, but I do plan on changing this deck. This is just the version I went to locals with. I did make last minute changes while I was there, but that was mostly to the side deck. For the spells, we have 3 of I don't understand how it's at 3. Nadir Servant, 3 Shaddoll Fusion, 3 Magical Meltdown, 2 Invocation, copies of Super Poly, and this is where it gets a little expensive. But we've got 2 Triple Tactical Talents, and then 2 Pot of Prosperity, 1 L, and 1 Terraforming, rounding out our spell lineup. Honestly, Pot was fine. I didn't get to resolve it too many times, but when I did, it never really helped. Because you're always doing 3, you're never doing 6 because your extra deck's so important. And honestly, banishing your extra deck is just, it hurts you more than you think, because especially in grind matchups where you're going to want the extra advantage or you need a specific starter, it can really hurt you, because you're going to end up needing a specific piece, and depending on what you banish from your extra deck, you may not have that piece. So I am going to be cutting Pot of Prosperity, but Triple Attack was great. Every time I activated this, it felt great. I cannot tell you, when I was testing this version, this came up more times than you would think. Every time I resolved it, I won the game. And then 1 copy of Terraforming, obviously Strange Meltdown, but we do have something in the side deck for it. Super Poly, honestly, it doesn't feel too great, this format. Dragon has really gone down in popularity, and a lot of the Adagnister, you know, if they make their big thing and you're going second, this doesn't do anything. And there's a couple other decks that it just, like Striker, Zoo. I mean, you can get rid of Zeus, but other than that, it doesn't really do much. So I felt like 2 was the perfect number. You can just use it to steal your opponent's monster and make whatever Shaddoll monster you need. But other than that, it wasn't too great. I sided it out in a lot of matchups, but I did play against a combo player who was playing 60-card warrior combo, and this was the nuts. So I definitely would not cut it entirely, but I feel like 2 was the perfect number on that. And then the last 2 cards in the deck are the 1 Schism and the 1 Punishment. I only activated Punishment once, but it's always nice to have. You always want this in your deck. You always want at least 1 copy. I would not play more than 1, but I would not play less. And then the 1 Schism, because as long as it's not banished, you can always have this card. It's always good whenever I saw it. Alright, moving on to the extra deck, we have, for the Shaddoll monsters, we have 2 copies of Construct, 2 copies of Winda, and then 2 copies of App Cologne. This was just honestly the perfect ratio. Constructs, honestly, I only ever used 1 or 2 copies in a game. I never ever wanted a third. Same with Winda, I've never wanted a third. And then App Cologne, honestly, you usually send 1 off Nadir, and then you keep the second one in your back pocket in case you need it. So I never ended up wanting a third copy of any of these. I thought these ratios were perfect. The invoked monsters, we've got 1 Mechaba, 1 Purgatrio, and then 1 Ogdes. I'm cutting Purgatrio, and I'm going to be putting in Raijin. It never comes up, ever. I never used it. When I'm going for game, this is your killer right here. This is what does the work. If you're planning on using a fusion monster to kill, it does everything you want it to do and more. And if you're summoning Purgatrio and you're not killing them, then it just does nothing. Whereas this still has an effect on field. Yes, you do need a fusion monster in the graveyard to do it. So it's very hard, almost impossible to make turn 1, and you really wouldn't want to, but that's fine. You're not making Purgatrio turn 1 either. Completely okay. So I am going to be cutting this, especially because the Book of Moon on this is pretty relevant, actually. And if you run against anyone still playing Bird Up and the Wind Barrier statue, this is your out right here. So that's it for... Oh, no, not it for the fusion monsters. Still got a couple more. But going to be cutting Purgatrio for Raijin. And then we have 1 Ash Dragon, 1 Entis, and 1 Starving Venom. I only made Starving Venom once, and it was okay. I ended up losing that game because I punted really hard. But having it there was nice, but it wasn't good enough to warrant taking up that extra spot. So this is going to get cut to, I believe, for an Omega, because sending Omega off of Nadir or Punishment or, whatever, just feels really good to be able to recycle, Ash Dragon, Mechaba, Ogre, whatever you want. Just put anything back, or Entis, so you can fire it off a second again. Obviously, the 1 Entis, activate, Nadir, search, and pop. So that's great. And then the 1 Ash, I see a lot of people not playing this currently. This is just the nuts turn 1, because you can end on like Mechaba, Ecclesia, and have Punishment and Fleur, or Winda or what have you. So this is just, you send it off Nadir and you just get extra pluses. Especially because if you already have Schism and you don't want to burn an Av Cologne, or if you just don't have enough, you can just send Ash, and it's really good, and I really like it, and I would not cut it. That's it for the fusion monsters. Last 3 cards in the extra deck are the 1 Artemis for your first turn Mechaba board, Gravity Controller, and Vert. These all came up, and I would not cut them for anything. Gravity Controller is just so great with constructs, not to mention it can outsert monsters in the extra monster zone. Verte, just activating Shaddoll Fusion for a 2nd time in a turn is busted. And then the 1 Artemis, you just summon Elser, turn it into Artemis, and then boom, you've got your Mechaba. Since we are not playing Maximus currently, we're not playing Secure Garden or Almirage, but I am considering playing Maximus. like I previously stated, so we'll have to update the extract as we go along with that. Field centers and tokens. And then for the side deck, we have 2 Cycle Reader, 3 Droll, 3 Forbidden Droplet, 2 Secret Village of Spellcasters, 2 Twin, 2 Cosmic, and the 1 Duster. My locals has a lot of Drytron and a lot of people playing Mystic Mind Striker or just Mystic Mind base decks. So I wanted to have 5 versions of spell and trap removal. I didn't know which one I liked better, so I just played two of each. I threw the side deck together pretty much last minute, and then obviously Feather Duster, because just wipe it all is pretty good. And then Secret Village, this was the MVP. Anytime this stuck on the field, I won that game. I think it was round 4. I was playing against Striker again. I won game 1. He got game 2, and then game 3. My turn 1 board is Winda, Ecclesia, Fleur in hand, Punishment and Schism set, and then I had this on board. It was insane, because you just activate this, and my Striker opponent drew for turn. It was a spell. He put his hand on the table down. It was 6 spells, or 5 because he hand trapped me, and he conceded. There was nothing he could do about it. So if you getting this on the board against certain decks is a death sentence, and I would not change it. Honestly, if I had the room, I'd probably main deck it because it's just that powerful. Droplet. This is for Drytron and any other combo deck. The only one time I saw it against Drytron, I didn't really have that great of a hand. So like, I dropletted his board, got rid of it, put it my own, and then obviously, they proceeded to kill me next turn because I couldn't put game on board, and I also couldn't prevent myself from dying. But this is great. I wouldn't change this. I might change it for Dark Ruler, because if it was Dark Ruler and I still had all those other cards in my hand, it would have been great. But this is also the quick play, so it's definitely personal preference. I think I'm going to try Dark Ruler out, and I'll let you guys know how that goes for me. Other hand traps, Triple Droll. You activate this card and you win. Just that simple. Every time I saw Droll in my opening hand, and needed to activate it, I won that game. It's just that good. We have 2 Cycle Reader. I wanted to play 3, but a lot of the Mind players were there that day, so I really wanted the 5 spell and trap removals. Didn't really feel like cutting anything else, so I only played 2. I did lose to Drytron, so that might be reason enough to bump it up to 3. But every time I activated this, he had Herald in his hand anyway, so it didn't matter. So as far as things I would change, obviously I'm getting rid of Purgatrio for 1 copy of Raijin, and then Omega. I had to go find my Omega. As far as the extract goes right now, I think that's fine. I think good the way it is. I mean, warrants more testing, but I definitely need to go further from that. And then the main deck, the only thing I really didn't like was Prosperity. It never felt good activating it, resolving it, and I mean, like if it's not in your opening hand, then it's not really doing much for you, because they're just gonna they'll just stop it because they don't want it. Ugh, sorry. Either they're going to stop it or you're too far behind, and it just doesn't matter. Because you need a couple cards to get your engine rolling if you're behind. So honestly, it was never that good. I mean, Ash Bait was fine, but still you banish Street of Fiend and Ash out of your opponent's hand. It didn't feel great. So in turn of that, I'm going to be bumping Ecclesia up to 2. That is something I wanted to do. I don't know what the third or the last card I'm going to be putting in yet. Maybe a third Phantasme. That's definitely on the docket. Or some other hand trap, possibly. The only other card that didn't feel great was the second Wendy. Like I said, I want to cut this for a Falco. So 3 cards in, another Ecclesiana Falco in, and then I do not know what the last card I want to play is. Be it Called by the Grave. I mean, even Feather Duster, some power one of something. I don't know what I want it to be yet, but when I do find out what that card is, I will let you know. And as far as matchups went, round 1, I played against Striker. I got game 1, then he picked up games 2 and 3. Game 3 went to time, and better ahead than I was, so I obviously lost there. Game 2 was against Drytron. I saw one hand trap, and it was Phantasme, and he ashed it, and that happened both games, so that was all she wrote. The next round was against Striker. Won game 1, lost game 2, picked up game 3. Then I got the bye. And then my last round was against 60 card Warrior. Game 1 he got because I forgot he had an Appaloosa board, and I tried to make a play and he stopped it, and then proceeded to kill me. So that was rather unfortunate. But game 2, yep, it was pretty simple. He didn't really do much, and I had a great opening hand. Same for game 3. I opened the nuts. He tried to combo off, but I had everything I needed to stop him. So that's really it right now for this deck. I am going to be filming right after I finish editing this to be posted. I'm going to be posting filming and then making a Untitled deck profile. I have them right here. I am missing one card. You'll have to forgive me, but I want to post this anyway so I can get this out there. It's a really fun deck, this format, especially because you can play certain things in it that are your opponent's not going to see coming, honestly. So it always feels really good. But look forward to that. I also have PK coming soon, and Going Second Breaker Zoo. But other than that, that's it for this deck profile. I'm doing a double upload today, so eat your hearts out. I'm going to be scheduling it to go up later in the day. This will be going up as soon as it's done rendering. But that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe for more, and that's it. Winda pass out.